You can see here we're on day 3, very little vegetation, and you can see in the background a little further a lot of other campers. We were not the only 6 that were climbing the mountain that week. There probably were another 75, maybe 80 people that we came across throughout our journey up and down. Pretty good smiles there yet on day 3. Even on the water break, we had to take lots of water, as some of you might be aware of. When you're in thin oxygen areas, you need to be hydrated very often and keep your water going in frequently. No beer up there. We didn't carry any of that up, so we had to wait till we got back down, which was fine. But we're still climbing, and day 3 became more difficult, and you'd have to not only deal with the fellow hikers, but you had to deal with the dust that they were creating. You can see that there's no vegetation, and this is the sunset on the 3rd day, and oxygen is beginning to get thinner. Day 4, you can see that we're climbing straight up. They got rid of the poles at this point because you needed to kind of use your hands and your knees, and they often told us to trust your boots, and don't look down, because it was quite a fall as you look the other direction. Here's a break on day 4. Yeah, the smiles are getting a little bit thinner. And you can see all the porters carrying the heavy things, while we basically just had our day packs and our poles and water that we were carrying with us. Day packs included things like rain gear in the event we'd need that, and maybe an extra pair of socks, and Roxy's getting her gaiter adjusted. The gaiters are pretty important because they kept the dust out of your boots, and we didn't have any mud issues other than the first day, but they kept the dust down a little bit because, or the dust from getting into your boots. Day 4, the mountain's getting a little closer. Not a lot of smiles going on at this point. I think Jenny's putting on some sunscreen, which is also very important. Sunset on day 4. We're getting a little close, but as you can see, the fog that's on the mountain, we were getting a little foggy in our thinking and in our thought process, as the limit amount of oxygen was starting to have some impact on us. Day 5, that's the day we're going to get to the top, and we walked across that plain that you can see behind. If you look really close, there's some other hikers out on that, and Jerry's adjusting his backpack a little bit. Not a lot of smiles going on at this point. Karen's giving us the heads up. It's day 5, and that's the mountain we're going to get to the top. So we're taking a little bit of break there before we get to the top. Again, we're hiking up to the mountain. Lots of rugged terrain, and you can't see it here. There's not a lot of smiles going on, and there's a lot of lungs that are starting to burn. One of the other things that our guides would tell us is pole pole, which is Swahili for slowly, slowly. They didn't have to tell us that too much. We weren't going very fast. More pole pole. This is Karen and I giving each other a hug as we're approaching, they call this the Rim of Africa, which is not quite to the summit, but it was a place where we stopped to take a short break before we did our final, probably hour, 45 minutes ascent to the top of Africa, which is the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro. And here we are, Spartans at the top. This is myself and Karen and Jenny and Elizabeth, all Spartan graduates and or going to school there. And you can see we're bundled up pretty heavy. The sun was getting low in the sky, was starting to set, and we took our adventure, took our quick picture. And this is a picture of all of us, not just the Spartans, but Karen and Jerry and myself and Lizzie and my sister Roxy and daughter Jenny on the top. We all made it, 19,300 and some feet. And you can see the sun's getting pretty low in the sky. We didn't spend a whole lot of time up there, It was very cold. We were all shivering. We were all happy to be there, happy to be done, and looking forward to getting back off that mountain. Maybe we spent 5 minutes at the most. This is a photo of the next morning after we climbed down that mountain all night long and got back to camp about 11:30 or so. Had a little bit of soup and then crashed in those two-man tents. Took 26 of them to get us to the top, and we all made it. They were happy we made it. We were happy, but I will say it wasn't quite as euphoric as I had experienced it, or I had expected it to be. I think it's primarily because we were just exhausted. It was just a very difficult and challenging trip. So it took us 2 days to get back down off the mountain. Here's a victory shot of our family. Been there, done that, and we pretty much decided that we didn't need to climb any more mountains. We'd been there. So this was the Kilimanjaro ambulance. If we would have needed it. Fortunately, we didn't need it there. It's also a fortunate thing that my illness didn't take place until after we got back into the United States. Almost down, you can see the green vegetation there. Karen and Roxy are pretty happy. Smiles are back. So it was goodbye Africa, and we had a wonderful experience, a wonderful trip, a beautiful country, and we were glad to be heading home.